One of the characteristics of Buddhism,
불교의 특징 가운데 하나가 합리성이에요.
uh,
합리성의
one of the
근저에는
characteristics of Buddhism is rationality, and
무엇이
amongst that we have the cause and the effect theory, and the cause and the effect theory is amongst the theories that's been invented by people. It is one of the most rational theory. When we have scientific,
사고를 한다라는 것은
when we are thinking in a scientific way,
사고예요. 다시 얘기해서
it actually means we're thinking in relation with the cause and the effect. So without the cause, there cannot be consequences or result.
누구나 과학을 하는 사람이면
There's something accepted by everyone who studies science and also who practices science. Through that method, everyone brings out the consequence. And so, science, if you trace back, if the answer is so, and if you ask what is the question, or what conditions were given, you can also trace backwards. When you are checking, when you are doing medical checkup back in hospital, if we ask question, if some people who are living for a longer period of time, we can also check the history or structure of the person for his long life. And since we have done that, we can also know what was the natural condition and what was the food, and also how were they everyday life, and like yogurt or lamb. Through the study of epidemiologists, they show maybe perhaps the food they have eaten or the condition or their natural surrounding seems like giving them a longer life. Other than Buddhism, if you ask, is there any religion or philosophy that accepts the cause and the effect? There isn't much. If you believe in the creation, that is not the cause and the effect. So they also do not say that if you do this or that, you'll go to heaven. They only blindly say that if you trust, you'll go to heaven. And also in the believing, how do you have to believe or what do you have to believe? And also the specifics are not mentioned. Especially, I don't know what is the name of the religion. Is it Voodoo or Dubu? They just believe that the goddess created that, and so we just have to chant them. And if you chant them, then you will go to heaven. Even the Brahmin, although they partly talk about the cause and the effect, it is not the true cause and effect. So is Taoism and also Confucianism. Although they mention about the cause and the effect, but they do not take it in the essential way. So if you study in detail, parts which we cannot accept without the cause, and if they blindly tell us the consequence, or without the cause, if the consequences are given, then we believe that that is not possible, and we cannot just blindly accept that. So without doing virtuous deeds, if you think that you'll be becoming virtuous,
거기에 분명하게 복을 짓지 않고 기도를 통해서 얻을 수 있는
you also have to find out where is the cause for the virtue if you only pray but without doing any virtuous acts. If you haven't done any virtuous deeds, then how can you gain virtue? Even the virtue of mundane life. Is it possible to get it just by praying? We can know that that doesn't become the cause of it, and that is also not the condition. And so finally, by doing that, you can never become virtuous and you cannot become happy. So Buddhism, the study itself, we believe in proving the cause and the effect. So if we see the smoke beyond that mountain, although we cannot see the fire, by looking at the smoke, we know that there is flame which is causing the smoke. So we can find out the cause by doing that kind of study. If we say we have such consequence, then what is the cause and what is the condition? And because we do that, even the suffering has arrived with the cause. And so it's not like someone has given it to you because you have done something wrong. Even when you are hitting your child, the cause lies with the child, right? The child made a mistake, and if you have hit the child, then the cause is with the child. But some people also misunderstand. The child has done that, but I have the cause. But that is not so. That is the condition. You have given the condition to for the child to be the cause. And if you say the child becomes violent, you have to eradicate the cause which is making the child violent. And in order to remove that, the parents has to provide them the situation or the condition, and that is the education. And without doing that, sometimes they bring the children to me. My child is doing this and that, and tells me something like that. The child's such condition, a lot of them are related to the previous life, so you cannot just make amendments, but the parents or the surrounding conditions has enable the action to happen. And if you point out that mistake, then it will become they will not want to accept it, and it will cause more problem. And so if the parent yells at the child, then the child will also yell back, and that will cause a little more difficulty. And you also have to find out what is the cost and what is also the consequence. And even for the suffering, there's also the cost for the suffering. If you ask what is love, it is the seed of the tear. Because you're sad, you have shed tear, and you have shed the tear because of love. It's even said that in the song. If you ask what is love, and the next lyric, it is not something like what God is given. So when Buddha was speaking in this logic, even if it is something that I have said,
말씀을 하신 것은 무슨 이유 때문에 하신
You
말씀이고
you still
무슨
have to
병을 고치기
know
위해서
why
하신
he said that
말씀이라는
or
것을
to cure
우리가
which
이제
disease he said that.
의학 분업을 하기 전에
And when we go to pharmacy
약국에
to buy
가서
medicine,
약을
what do we
사는데 뭐라고
say?
그래요?
We want
예,
a
나이신도
painkiller
아니고요.
and
진통제 하나를 줘요.
we want the medicine for
좋아하지
digestion
않으면
and
주사 두 개
also
다 해봐.
some other painkillers.
그럼
So
약 사는 그냥
you
약
just come
팔아도 그냥
there and you know already what you are
하는 거야.
diagnosed
아주
with, and so without looking at the cause and the condition, you just make the decision.
그럼 어떻게
And
되겠어요?
the thing that suffers
그래서 여러분
eventually is
뭔가
yourself and also your body.
수밖에 없겠지. 그럼
If you say the pharmacist has
약사가
given you the
약을
medicine,
지어줬다. 내가 어디가 아프고 어디 아프고. 그럼
then
약사도
if you ask,
정확하게
is the
분석할 수
pharmacist the
있는
one who
사람이
can also
없다면
analyze the
아니야.
actual cause?
그래서
No.
의학 분업을
So the
해서
doctor
의사가
has to
그것을
find out
해서
what is the cause, and
진행을
doctor
하고
has to
약을
prescribe the medicine,
처방을 받으면
and
약사가
doctor
이
has to
약은 이 약을
tell,
섞으면
you
얼마나
should
되고 이
not
약은
mix this
여기
medicine
원경을
with that
되고
medicine.
그걸
And I
주는
think
것을
it is a
굉장히
very good
잘한 일이라고 생각합니다.
distinguish.
그걸 안 하려고
I think it's a very good
주장하고
classification that they made
도와주셔야
between the
되고
doctors and the
믹스에
pharmacists.
안 맞는 일로 기다리다가
But most of you
그게
don't want to
그래서
accept. So what did Buddha
부처님
say?
뭐라 그러냐면
Buddha say, even if it is something that I have said, you have to argue every point. And if it's correct, then you should accept it. If it's not correct, then you should reject it. He did not say that to prove that there was something that he said, amongst the things that he said, there was something wrong about it. But it's not like he said, just believe in whatever I say. But of course, it's not possible that he said something wrong. But why did he say that? He said that because if you do not argue back but just believe blindly, then what is it? It is like a blindness. And so even when they say the person is a little timid, that also means the person is a little blind. I'll show you with my expression. It's like that. Your eyes are half closed. That's like you're blind to something. So that's a blind faith. If we close our eyes, then it means we do not have the power to distinguish, but we just believe blindly. And so Buddha said, "Do not just believe in me blindly." He never said what I said is 100% correct, and so you should believe in me. And that's why he said always do the teaching and learning. And also when you do the teaching and learning, you should also argue about it, and after arguing, come to a conclusion and decide. And that's why we say have the faith, but you need to know what you're going to believe in. And even when you're believing in God, if he asks, is there a form of a God? We cannot find the form. And since there is no form, we don't know what to believe in. And then, what are you going to believe? Which part of the God? I'm going to give you an example. Do you believe in your husband blindly? Look at it. All of you are shaking your head just in a moment. You don't trust him blindly. There are so many parts which we cannot trust, and we also feel unstable when they are out. And we also feel insecure when we keep them in the house and when we go out. So it is wrong to say just believe in your husband. And do you think your husband is believing in you blindly? Everyone knows. So do you think the parents are believing in child without any reason? Or do we say that we believe in you? But what is it? In the bottom line, it means we don't trust you. Why is that? Because the saying that I trust you comes with the condition that I don't trust you. If you really trust that person, then you will not even say I trust you or I don't trust you. If you really believe. So Buddha says, just like this, you have to check and you have to believe. Do not believe it in blindly. So blind faith and also uh, believing without knowing what to believe. So, for example, if we say, "Do you believe in the God of birth?" and if you ask, "Who is she?" and you don't know, that is the superstition, the knowing without uh, believing without the knowing. And that's quite tricky because if you go some fortune teller place and if you whistle,
딸랑딸랑딸랑 해가지고
then what's there to trust?
그럼 그거 뭘 믿을 거예요 그게?
You believe clearly in
확실하게
what is
믿어서
one
이렇게
plus
하기
one.
좋아요?
You trust in that. If you go to market and if you buy 1,000 won worth thing and if they give you the change for 99,000 for 10,000, you believe in that. Do you have any superstition or do you have something difficult to believe there? No, right? And Buddhism is a very easy thing. It's, it's, it has become a little difficult because you overface it because you tend to overdo, but uh, but it's a very easy thing. Person like Yu Byung-hun, they don't die. They claim. They say he lives forever. That is that is not the right thing. How can a person live forever? Even for me, if I know that anyone can live forever, I'll leave out all the Buddhist beliefs and I'll also go there. Uh, I will I will go there and I will not die. And if that's going to happen, then I'll go and live there. But that doesn't exist. If you're born, you die. If time passes, then what happens? You age. No matter how much you dye your hair or tie buttocks or wear implants or buttocks or hair dye or the color of your clothes, who would know? You know and I know and everyone knows.
니도 알고 내도 알고 다 알아. 니도 내도 다 알아. 그러니까
So Buddhism is so easy to believe.
천자필멸이라 태어난 거
You're born and you die, and there's no other way to not believe it. If a child says, "Mother, I want to go to the bathroom," do you believe in that or not? If you just leave the child so, then the child will probably go to bathroom in his pants, and that is daily life.
일상사야. 아시겠죠? 그러니까 부처님 말씀을 믿는 것은 그러니까 우리가 경을 안 배우고
So when we don't learn sutras and when we say we believe, that's all a lie. So what do you believe in? You believe in the faith, but you just have to understand what you believe in.
신해야. 그다음에
And
확실해.
and if you know that it's for certain, then you have to take action.
자기 체험.
And if it becomes action, it becomes an experience.
체험.
You have to follow this sequence, and that is the basis of study. And because of that, Buddha has become someone who talks a lot, like a grandfather. Jesus died early, but he could not say a lot of things.
노자 같은 경우는 그 양반이
And about other philosophers, we are not even sure, like Lao Tzu, we're not sure if he was even alive.
지 말해 놓은 것처럼 그냥
Historically, he's not very clear.
그래서 부처님은
So Buddha said, the things I said, learn, but do it like how you do the science. What is the most important? What is the most important thing for science? It is question. If you want the child to do the science, then you should not tell them the answer. For example, if you say 1 plus 1 is 2, then in the brain of the child, he will lose the question. And so if someone asks that person to do something, then he will say yes. And if he's not given the next order, he will just wait. Right now, we are mass producing these child. We are producing in mass those children. And that is something that we should know that we are doing wrong. And so even in science, even Newton, he asked, why is it falling? Can't it just go back where it was? So even people like Einstein or Hopkins, they ask, why is that doing that? And if you just tell them clearly, then there's not even science, and there's no reason to experiment too. So some people just think it's everyday routine thing, but between the stars, two stars, it is dark and there's no oxygen, and so but some people, for some people it is just dark, but some other people it is something they would ask question, why is it dark? And so after all, there has to be a question, and even in Buddhism there should be curiosity and there should be a question, why did he say that, and for which purpose he said that, to reach to which kind of answer. I think I am kind of becoming like Kim Dae-jung president. You have to do like that. So when you look at the book in Buddhism, for the teaching and learning of the theory, there is a custom of experimenting to show its effectiveness. So the effectiveness or rationality is absent, then Buddhism is incorrect. It seems like Dalai Lama met one of the scientists, a philosopher, Western philosopher, and he said if he listens to Dalai Lama's teaching, then he feels bad. And when he asks why does he feel bad, he says it's too rational, that's why he cannot argue back. Since there are no gaps, it's almost like A plus B equals C. Only if Dalai Lama makes mistake, he would have something to say, but Dalai Lama doesn't do that. That's why he doesn't have an opportunity to speak or comment. Do you have some meeting in the afternoon? Seems like Korea has meeting. The meeting is on 18th. Even the things I say, if they are not logical, and if I just give you blind examples, then there's no need for you to take them. If I tell you 1 plus 1 is 3, then no matter how loud my voice is, you won't be able to trust them. And Buddha's speeches, in order to make them precise, the characteristic of Sanskrit is that it is very logical, and even Parsi is logical. And you have to do it through the logical experiment. if you ask why do we need logic in order to study Buddhism, you need to know that you need to understand in a logical manner, and that way, uh, in that way, just like we stock things one by one on top of another, you need to do it in a systematic way.
예? 맨날 들어와서 들어. 그래도 뭐 이성철이
It's always better to listen to live than a recorded version. So, if you can come inside and listen to the teaching,
완전 가합이다. 분위기가 다르잖아요.
Buddha has said clearly,
부처님은 분명하게 말씀하셨어요.
monks and scholars
같이 어디다 비구들과 학자들이요.
burn, cut, and with a rub, just like the gold.
황금처럼
Analyze properly even my speech.
그와 같이 제대로 분석하라.
You should not take it just without respect.
존경심만으로 받아들여서는 안 되느니라.
Buddha did not say or do in order to get respect. If he wanted to get respect, then he would have chosen the other path, but he never did. He did not want to
절받고 거룩하게 보이신 모습을 보이셨냐면 그런 모습을 보이셨냐면 우리가 좀 더 진솔하게 받아들일 수 있게끔 그 의문을 갖지 않고
with his actions.
저 양반이 저런 행동을 했을 때
The question of Buddha's behavior.
의문을 갖지 않고
For example, Buddha did not drink for the happiness of other people.
중생이 받아들여서 좀 더 행동을
He did all his actions.
주시기 위해서 그렇게 하셨단 말이에요.
So just like I give you an example,
마치 우리가 비유하건데 주 올림픽에 가서 금메달
if you get gold medal at Olympics, then they bite it once. Those who get silver, they don't bite. But those gold medalists, I think maybe the press people are also asking them to bite, but but they bite it, and it seems like gold leaves such a residue, like if you bite them. And when we say it's a gold, we bite it or we cut it or we do something with it, we also melt it. And then we finally decide and come to an agreement that that's a gold.
전에 어떤 놈은 뭘 가지고
Oh, I
만들어가지고 가짜 금괴를
Oh, I heard the news that someone sold like gold-plated something that's gold and sold it, and the person who bought it, they did not even check. And so if you do not experiment with the speeches, and if you just take them as they are, then you can also be cheated, because there are so many similar ones, and so there are a lot of expired ones too.
그래서 유사품이 너무 많아서 이걸 갖다
So you should not take them as they are.
그대로 그냥 그렇게 하면 안 된단 말이에요. 그래서
And even if it's my speech, you have to analyze properly. And if you are sure, and if you can trust that it is true, then start believing in it. Why is it so? Because your life also depends on it, and also the honor of Buddha lies in here. For example, what was Yubyang's the redemption sect?
구원파 10원도 집에 구원을 줘가지고
Even his redemption sect, if there was any analysis, then people would not have.
안 하지. 그렇잖아요, 그죠?
If they had a little bit of critical thinking, they would not have followed it.
어떻게 여수에 무슨 멸치.
And even in Yasu, the Chinchonji,
정말
people also believe in something that is not worth believing. Think about it.
생각해봐요. 조이성이라고 그 무슨 뭐 승리
Joysan, who used to come here, and
올라오면 전에
it says Sungli Foundation, and there are 2 cars, and it seems like they're taking 2 cars there.
올라가는 거다. 승리자. 이 조이성이 그럼 뭐 자기가
And he says that dews will be coming out of his palm, and if you get it, then if you are if you can get a little bit of my due, you'll not die. And so a lot of old people, they they're clinging onto it. But even he died inside the prison. So it's all a lie. So the religion, in any other thing, you should not have the blindness in any aspect. Buddhism, in any other way, you shall not have blindness. You should always check everything. Buddha has said this, but did he say on his own? Seems like what he said is right. But if Buddha has spoke alone, then it's not being proven. So if people ask, were you able to feel the utopia? And even someone like Hatse or Arahan was also able to feel the utopia. Although not everyone attained to this state, but quite a lot of people were quite happy. And so throughout our life, we are taught not to practice we are to practice the non-violence, and even Buddha, not only himself, but if you also ask if practitioners were they also able to feel the same thing as Buddha did, and they were, and throughout our life there were so many changes, so many historical changes. A lot of people died, but in Buddha, we never said. In Buddhism, we never said we have to kill people to survive. Maybe in Catholic and maybe also in Christianity, but we never did that in our history. And so you know that people become peaceful, and also it is historically proven to believe. I also started gaining more belief after I saw the Tibet, and the Tibetan region, especially Kham, they used to wear the hat made of cow horn, and they also wore a big sword and also spear, and they were really, really, really scary people. And they also invaded Tang Dynasty. A lot of people were killed. They were such scary people. They also ate human flesh. But after they accepted Buddha's teaching in about 7th century, they became such kind and nice people. Whose song is this? Because I became a very soft lamb. And then what is next? Right now, Tibetan people are like a very soft lambs who are really soft. You know, this teaching is broadcasted, so hundreds of people come and listen. And if needed, you can ask questions, and you can send messages, and just have to send in your name and also your question. If you don't want to write your name, that's also okay. But if you ask questions, that at the end of the teaching, I will answer. Your name will not even be shown here. So if you have any questions, you can always do so. We have about 2 questions now. So you can also know that historically that things are progressing that way, and also a lot of people have studied and they have followed Buddha's teaching. You can know that with the statistics. So this thing called science, through the experiments, when we have given the same condition and the cause, the experiment should always have the same result, then we can accept it. Then about 2,500 to 2,600 years ago, if we give the same condition, then it should be proven that same consequence will be given, and Buddhism was able to do that. When we talk about compassion, it became the true compassion, but in some, it is compassion to themselves, but it was not a compassion to others. Then is this a compassion or not? But when Buddha spoke about compassion, you should never have the thought to become happy through the suffering of others. Even at the time of your death, you should not blame someone else. I never existed in the first place. You should always ask for the happiness of everyone. It is not that you should ask for your happiness, me, myself, and also my group. And also, if you have to, if there's anyone who is destroying the statue or also destroying the monastery, do not show your anger. Showing anger itself is more the act of destroying me, the Buddha. Buddha not only said this, but also took it to action. In Tibet, about 7,000 monasteries were destroyed. And I also have 5 boxes of those destroyed statues. And even though the Tibetan monks show their anger, about 2 million Tibetans died, but did they take revenge? They did not. For them, it was their way of living their life. Like tens of them killed millions of people, but there was no any outcome from it. And you can always ask, why was it needed for the humanity? So in believing in Buddhist teaching, you need to have a precise and clear understanding, and you also have to take into the consideration that you yourself will also go through it. You should always take the basis as something that can be done. Did you come yesterday night? This is very important. Buddhism never, not anyone. You should not have blind faith, or you should not believe in superstition. And whichever caused, so repeatedly you've been taught and you have been also led to the path of practice, and they are the teachers. Without doing that, if you just collect donations and live peacefully or comfortably, then there is not even a teacher, and also there is not a practitioner. So only with the respect. If father comes home drunk, and if he keeps saying something, then the son will like, oh, I don't want to listen to you. But then if they have fight, then the son will, when son argues back, you should do something that gains my respect. But normally when we say women, the mothers are respected, they have about 50% of share, because they went through difficult time while giving birth. But that's when they are not able to gain a little profit, because they're not being beneficial because the money is when they come after difficult time, when they come home earning money, it seems like the kids are not very pleasant to them.
그냥 무슨 아이고, 어디에 딱 나왔다 하고 막 머리에 두근을 두르고 쫓아가고.
The kids will not respect you if you just go somewhere looking after money. The kids will know better and say, "Oh, my mother is only going through, going around to earn money."
지향락인가 나왔을 때 날라리아가 나왔지.
Did you see the comedy pro?
안 봤어?
Don't you remember the thing about the Roman king?
왕태가지고 나오고.
And so, even at the process of proving the internal and external phenomenon, you also have to depend on the logical proof. We can divide it majorly three. The logical. The first one is if you have seen it directly. Someone, if someone is backbiting about someone, and if he asks, "Have you seen it?" "Oh, no, I haven't, but some other people were talking about it." You should. When you say, "No, I haven't," other people were talking about it, means you have not seen it, because you would have known if you have seen it yourself.
누가 그렇게 하는데 남대문에 문턱이 달아졌대. 그럼 니 봤냐고? 안 봤는데? 서울 가봤냐? 안 가봤대. 그럼 내가 뭐
About something that about this, if he asks, "Have you seen it?" "No." If the person has, you have talked about seen it? "No." Did he go? "No." If this kind of thing happens, then even the fake news that they show or gossip news, though the first logical manner is it that if you have seen it yourself or heard it, even when we are in the court, if it's not something that you have seen it in person or heard in person, then they will not take it as an evidence. And also, but if it's something that you have seen or heard, but still, if you think there's a chance of the evidence being a little defaulted, then also we do not take it. That's Buddhism.
비량이야. 그래, 이를테면, 아이 신이, 내가 요즘 이유가 걱정해서 죽겠습니다. 왜 그런지 모르겠습니다. 그럼 내가 물어보지.
If someone comes and tell me that it's a little scratchy here, then I ask, "Did you dye your hair?"
염색했어. 그럼 물어보면, 아이고 염색.
"Yes, I did." "And which medicine, which hair dye did you use?" And when I saw it, it was written, "Warning,
밑에다 주의.
it can cause allergic reaction.
알레르기가 일어날 수 있으니
So consult with a professional."
그렇게 써놨단 말이야. 아, 요걸 해서 그렇습니다. 그러면 나는 그걸
Then, although I have not seen you dye your hair, but through the comparison, I know.
비교해서 알죠, 그죠? 아, 이 사람이
So, because of the hair dye, that person has the allergic reaction.
그걸 안단 말이야.
And also, if they ask why is Hyungkong, Venerable Hyungkong short, I know, because we are looking at the consequence or the result, but we are again trying to trace the question in this condition. The parents are a little short, and since they did not eat, and also since she did not eat meat, she became a little shorter, and so we know the reason why.
왜 콧구멍이 뻐끔하게 덜창코냐? 내가 알아. 전생의 성질이고.
And if you also ask why is her nose that shape, we also know because she has a short temper.
발랑 이렇게 돼야 이러고 막 숨이 빨라지는 거야.
So Buriwa has a round chin, and we know that she's eating well.
내가 다 안다니까. 그거는 비량이야. 딱 이거 요게 지금 이렇게 됐다 그러면 그게
Uh, the shape provides the condition for the consequence.
상도 그렇게 우리가 인과법으로 유추해서
We can know it from the cause and the effect theory.
인과법으로 유추해서
So even your previous life, we can know. We don't need supernatural powers, but we can only derive from your current actions. If you're very miser this life, we can also know that in your previous life you're still a miser. If you're very poor this life, that's because you have not given out in your previous life. I haven't seen your previous life, but I still know, because right now we're looking at the result. Even maths, we solve it this way.
그렇게 풀죠. 예? 수학을 이게 만약에
Then what is the answer here?
1이 돼 있으면 여기 답이 얼마야?
We don't know the answer, but
이거 지금
we don't know this, but it should be 2, right? This person is 1.
지금 이 사람이 1이야.
But now when I see his actions, he's always subtracting. So
가가지고도
even at some shop, he still wants to have discount.
100원 깎아주소. 꼭 100원이야.
So in previous life, that person asked for 201 discount, so still has one left, and that's why he or she is 101. I'm sure that if he thinks about it, then he also finds it funny that he asked for the discount. We also have the saying of the saints. The saints, they do not lie, and there's no reason for them to lie. Do you know why do people lie? Why do people lie? Do not think far.
거짓말 왜 합니까? 멀리까지 생각하지 말고
Just think about it. You bought a jacket for $600, but you lied that you got 150 discount. Why do you do that? You did that in fear of your husband's anger, and that you bought an expensive jacket. And why did you buy in the first place? You bought it because of your greed of wanting to have it. And if your self-pride is a little stronger, then you would have just not bought it, even if it's cold. But
추워도 그냥 안 사버리고 만다 이러잖아요.
but you cheat a little. You want to buy, but looking at your husband, and if you pay $600, then he's going to yell at you for 4 days. So you lie, white lie, but you only did that just to compromise your own lie.
욕심을 간파할
That is also not acceptable. So saints, they do not lie.
안 되겠죠? 그래서 성인은
Saints do not lie at all.
아예 성인은 거짓말
And
자체를
because saints do not lie, everything the saints say, they're all correct.
성인의 말씀은 전부
Even if it is relatively not true, but for the time being, he would have said the right one. Maybe if you think of it in a relative way, it might not be it might not be correct with the given condition, but it is actually should be true. And
부조인은 뭐냐면
what Buddha says is ultimate truth, but also relative ultimate truth.
뭐냐면 최종적인 진실이야.
Just like the Diamond Sutra,
요의경은 금강경처럼 요의경은 바로 공성에 대한 핵심을 상대적으로
the
얘기하는
Perfect Understanding Sutra said about everything true, and it's really good. It's a little difficult, but it is said directly, And
아주 좋아.
if you know it is also very helpful. So just like that, it's good to listen to Buddha's teachings.
배우는 것이 좋다. 처음에 우리가 이제 부처의 말씀을 몰랐다가 그냥
That's the sound of winter.
풍지 우는 소리야. 겨울 소리야.
I forgot. The Perfect Understanding Sutra. Buddha spoke about the voidness as the essence of the sutra, so it's difficult to understand. But if you understand and if you know it, it's really good. And also to learn the sutras.
알고 나면 대단히 좋고 그다음에
By learning the sutras, you have to pray and you have to recite the mantras and you also have to meditate and you also have to practice the prayer, and then only you will know if you're going forward or you're going backward, just like getting the driving license. If you don't have the driving license, then it's bound for that you'll meet with an accident.
타고 다니면 꼭 사고를 내.
So you should not only rely on the authority.
금위에만 의존해서는 안 됩니다.
So just because this is Buddha saying, you have to respect it. But what do? You just put it somewhere and you prostrate every day. I'll give you an example. About 5 to 6 years ago,
내가 예를 하나 드릴게.
with the head of Dongguk University, Mr. Song, I met Dalai Lama, and
달라이라마를 뵀다가
the current head, I was also together.
학생지장에 뭐 하여튼
And I also have to explain to him what is Dongguk University. And in order to do that, I needed to have some connection. And I had nothing more to say other than Buddhist university. So although the condition that Buddhism is there, but they were not directly related. So there was one thing that struck my head.
적으로 이렇게 연관이 안 되잖아.
In 1968, in Nepal,
1968년도에 네팔에서 세계 불교도 우리 저 여수에서
in Yasu we had a World Fellowship Buddhist, and we had that in Nepal in 1968. We also had Chongdan Venerable there, and in Nepal they stole our passports, so they also seem to had a difficult time. And at the time, Dalai Lama, when he exiled from Tibet, Dalai Lama brought with him
대장경이 습집인데
the Tripitaka,
습집이 뭐 대단한가 그렇지 않아. 빨갱이들이 전부 다 불태우고 난리를 칠 때 다
a copy of Tripitaka, and just like that,
다 없는 거야. 보면
a lot of sutras are lost if you ask what's so good about it. And even when he was being chased by Chinese, he brought the Tripitaka, a copy of it, and he gave it to Dongguk University. And when I told him that it's in the Dongguk University, he was like, "Oh, really?" And his eyes became bigger. And later, when we went again, the general secretary, he made a copy and he did the scrap and he took it there. And then he asked, "So do you have it there in the closet?" They made the glass, and inside the glass cupboard, they have it. They respected him there.
그래가지고 딱 이렇게 모셔놨습니다.
But then he took some time to think about it, and for some time, from his smiling face, he became a little serious face, and he asked, "So do you just have it there?"
좀 시간도 눌러서
Oh,
웃기더니
ha ha ha. He gave a big laugh, and he repeatedly said, "So you have just preserved there."
몇 번을 그러시더라고.
So on the spot, he said, sutras or those mantras, they should be read, translated, and so he gave $200,000. He gave $200 on the spot so that it can be translated. So sastras, the great teachings of Buddha, the sutras, the great teachings of Buddhas, until they are all just written and they're just preserved in some closet. But
경배 대상이 대해서는 경배를 한다는 것은 뭐냐면 결국은
when we say we believe in sutras and when you respect it, the benefit is actually with me. But if you only prostrate in front of the sutras, then what is there to follow? And that became the seed of the translation center that we are trying to have now. I think we have to overcome the difficulties and do our job. So the sutras, they should never be only relying on the authority. So if they say, I cannot change, even if 0.01% here, but you just have to follow the Islams, they say the sayings of Allah, they should not even be translated, then what happens? So you need to learn Arabic. You need to learn Arabic. And just like they do, you have to understand. I don't know what it is, so we have to do everything in Arabic. And since we do not translate the Arabic, what does it mean? Only those who belong to Arab world, only they can survive as per their belief and theory. And even now, because of that ideology, they do not accept other race and also other religion. And so if they have some argument, they kill them. If they change the religion, then even if it's their sister, they murder on the spot. And I don't think that is the borderline where people live. And imagine if Buddhism did that, then Korea will be full of people who need to be dead. Christians, they should come to temples and prostrate every day. If Buddhism, we hold the guns. Even when you're walking on the street, they ask us to change our religion. And sometimes when I wear this monk robe and go, then they even tell me that they are not going to sell things to me. And sometimes when I go for lunch, they refuse to give me lunch too. I faced that many times in Yosu. Yesterday at our school, one of the teachers to the students while eating was asked to pray to God. Thank you for giving us this meal, and I still wanted to take them to church. So I called the principal. Seems like the teacher is doing that. And you know it's against the rule. If you do not apologize, then I'm going to report to the press and also report to the police. And the principal said he's going to change it, so I just have to check. I can always check through the students. That's against the rules and regulations of Korean law. So simply, you should not rely on the authority of the sutra. If they say this is something absolute and so you should not even touch it, then people who belong to some other race and who speaks a different language, which we have thousands of different languages, they should also have the right to translate and study that. But if they claim that other people should not even look at it or study it, that means we should all be part of the Arabic world, and that is also incorrect. And because of that, in the world, in a lot of places, there is numerous wars. and you should not only rely that, and whatever is taught in the sutras, you have to analyze them in relation with the logic. You have to ask, you have to compare the cause and the result as per the logic. If you say if I only if I have the thought or desire to become Buddha, then only I will get enlightenment. If I don't even have that desire, then there is no way that I'll become the Buddha. And in order to do that, I need to have the sense of bodhisattva, and that is the most important and essential thing. But not only the sense of bodhisattva is fine, but you also need to have the conditions, and the conditions are the 6 parameters. And then you again come back to the actual fact of bodhisattva, which is actually sympathy and also compassion to everyone living in this world. Then you understand that there is a road to become Buddha, and also there is a condition for 6 parameters. If you analyze that way, then it's bound that you will have the faith. Then only we can double check the effectiveness of the content. I think I said this yesterday too. The Hemingway wrote about the old man and the sea, and he brought it, but in the end, there was nothing left, only the bone. And just like that, he knows that all the thought that there is nothing in the end, but eventually he committed suicide. So there is no effectiveness in here at all. But the sayings of Buddha, it has to be helpful for our happiness. If it's not helping our happiness, then we can also get rid of it. If Catholics that have the Crusader War, even the little kids, they hold the swords and arrows to fight, but did it really help? It did not help at all. People were suffering from fear, and of course that's not going to help. And if they say you'll be guaranteed by the God after that, but who is going to guarantee? And also the Islams who commit suicide bomb, about $1,500, they can have the bomb all surround your body, all over your body, and the people in the wedding, they might not be all the soldiers, or they could just be some common people, and you are just killing everyone. So in fact, it is something that makes you unhappy and also around you unhappy. That's something that's very easy to know. But amongst what Buddha said, if there is something that doesn't make us happy, then no matter what authority or creditability that Buddha has, we cannot leave them aside. Buddha's sayings are always open as the object of verification. Through the debate and through arguments, if you think it is not true, then it is just something that Buddha compared, but it is actually the mistake of the disciples. It's just that the Mount Sumi is not something that Buddha said that it's the end of the world, but it's actually the a wrong translation of their disciples.
무조건 믿어야 된다고. 불교는 그런 거 없어요.
Even when we verify scientifically, if there is something wrong, then you should always give it up or quit.
그것도 당장 관둬라.
If you say it did not happen after so many experiments, then just leave it. The Mount Meru. But in Buddhism, there are not a lot of them which can be just ignored, especially in the psychological way. Even the six parameters.
그다음에 이때면 육바람일보.
From the Western point of view, they argue or they are surprised that how can there be such a systematic manner of practice. One of the most surprising facts about the Buddhist culture is that the practitioners, they can always check if Buddha's teaching is correct. You can also double check or verify the sayings of the teacher. Even the teachers, when they say even the teachers, they teach on basis of Buddha's teaching in the sutras. Even when I speak, when it is not part of Buddha's saying, then I say that's my personal opinion. But that can also be verified or criticized. The Buddhist method to approach the education is similar to modern science, although it's not the same. From the beginning, you should not directly comment on the content one-sidedly, and so just do not make a final decision and then come back to it and try to explain it, because there is a possibility that it is wrong. So if is wrong, then there could be a lot of things they are wrong. So although I give this a lot of examples, the women who cannot bear a child, if we say the child of the lady who cannot bear a son went somewhere and ate and had diarrhea and so went to hospital and was cured, but then finally if the lady cannot have a child, then the child can never exist from the beginning. So the saying that he went to the funeral itself is also a lie. And also the fact that they had a meal at the funeral was also a lie, and also diarrhea was a lie, and also hospital is a lie. Everything is a lie. Is there something true in there? Everything is a lie.
참말이 있어요? 그 안에? 몽땅 거짓말이야.
First, you have to verify everything in detail. As a consequence of the analysis, if it's verified logically, you have to accept it. And therefore, generally, Buddhism is known for a high-end, systematic, logical systematic. One person asked, the Tibetan Tripikata, she hopes for the Tripikata business to be done in success. And she's making a small donation with all heart. And even in future, she hopes that everyone's wish comes true and things happen successfully. So, Ryomsung, this is not a question. This is a letter of gratitude. Thank you very much. I have a question. I want to know how to pray, and also the posture of practice. This we need to speak about this in 3 nights and 4 days. Simply, I'm going to say simply this Gonglim Parpa. If you listen, And inside the content, even the method to pray and also meditate is there. So please listen later. But first, do not misunderstand the praying. If you are praying for the betterment or virtuous deed, then it is actually not true. What is prayer? Prayer is repentance and also when we repent, that is we are repenting that whatever I have done is wrong. So the other one is desire to for the betterment, and that betterment is for the better future where I will not repeat whatever I have been doing so far. And it is also in the book. The methods of practice, there are two. The first one is understanding rational repentance, and also the other one is repentance by means of prayer or prayer chanting or reciting the sutra. And meditation, it is there on YouTube. If you look at the Vipassana and Samatha part, there are two. The prayer and meditation is different. Meditation, we do it in order not to have distraction of the heart. With the ego, not liking something that is helping to me and hating something not beneficial to me, not having that kind the practice to reduce that kind of thought is meditation. We have many different types of meditation in both in Hinayana and Mahayana, and the detailed method, please please look at YouTube for the Monday teaching. It is in two videos, and also there are many additional explanations done. And also when you say the posture, just like I said, when you are learning the sutra of Buddha, first you have to understand and you have to believe. And when we say understand, you need to understand with the proper perception. And after understanding, you have to take it into actual practice. You have to take it to pranya practice, and you have to offer, and you also have to follow the disciplined method, actions, and also you have to keep practicing. And samatha, as we spoke, you have to practice, and after the prior practice, you through the vipassana, one by one, you will be able to settle everything. And this is the overall outline and the detail method. Please study the Gomlin Parpa in detail, and things are in very detailed, so you'll be able to see. Any question from here? Is the Tantra is practice of Diamond Sutra, because we have not yet completely translated. The sayings, we do not have enough sayings to substitute. Like Dalai Lama is teacher, and Dalai is something like Jue like, but we just call it Dalai Lama. We call it as a noun, not even knowing the meaning. So even like Tantra, it is a part of, it is one of the Diamond Sutra practice. So it is about practice. No questions? Okay then.